As of starting this recording, it is 11:18 p.m. and we're going to read some scary stories. So I first want to apologize. I am sick at the moment, so my voice sounds a little more um, raspy than usual. So I'll just, I'm going to try and move past that, and we're just going to read some scary stories. So the one we're going to be reading about today is actually on CreepyPasta. Now, I've been very much enjoying CreepyPasta, and I think it's a very good website. So we're going to go right back to it. I also am thinking about, just for future videos, doing some Reddit stories, some Reddit scary stories, or r/scary stories. So if you would like to see that, give me a like or just comment. Just somehow show me that you like to see that. But today, we're not going to worry about Reddit. We're going to worry about this beautiful man that is shown on screen. His name is Slenderman. He is white, tall. He has no eyes or nose, just has that beautiful mouth you see. And that's all I'm going to say about it. We're just going to jump right into the story. Alright, guys, I am back, and I would just like to say this is a shorter reading time. It's 3 minutes, mainly because I'm tired and I don't feel very great, but I still want to get a video out. So, we're just gonna start reading this. Let me close all this crap around. I know I've apologized in earlier videos. I want to apologize for all the ads because I just can't do anything about them. Um, so yeah, I'm sorry. But anyway, let's jump right into this and start reading this story. After waking up with a jolt, the girl laid in bed a few seconds longer. Reaching over to switch on her bedside lamp, she tried to remember exactly what had stolen her sweet slumber away. When she couldn't, the brunette swung her legs over to the side of the bed and heaved herself up. Checking the time on her phone, she snorted when she saw it was midnight, the witching hour. Knowing that sleep would only evade her, she left her bedroom for the kitchen, a good cup of coffee on her mind. As she passed by her front door, a chill spread like liquid fire down her spine. It's only winter, she told herself. I I want to apologize again. For some reason, this app, or this website, I should say, it likes to jump around, and I sometimes lose myself because it'll randomly jump up or jump down. So I sometimes lose where I'm reading. So if I sometimes stop awkwardly, that's mainly why. I'm probably going to leave this in, but yes, I just want to point that out. It's only winter, she told herself, focusing again on the coffee plan. Measuring out scoops, water, and preparing her cup kept her occupied, but as the dark liquid boiled, she had nothing left to keep her mind from wandering off. The chill returned, and she couldn't help but glance behind her to the front door. It stood there innocently enough, just like always. The deadbolt was still in place, and she could see nothing amiss with it. Turning back to her coffee, she did her best to forget about the feeling. With her cup in hand, she started back towards her bedroom. As she walked by the front door, she decided that a quick glance out of the peephole would help calm her restless mind. The chill worsened with each step she took towards the door, and further away from the safety and warmth of her blankets. Random side note, is it just me? Or if you were given the option to either go into a bunker and sit without a blanket in the middle and on the cold ground, or lay in bed under the covers, I feel like I would choose the covers, even though it's not safer. Like somebody could just stab right through, but it's somehow you feel safer. I don't know. That's just how I feel. I don't know. Um, as she walked by the front door, she decided. Oh, whoops. Sorry, I've already read that. At first, she could only see an inky blackness, and somehow seemed to swirl in itself. When she blinked in surprise, the void melted away. She wished it hadn't. In its place, there stood what she could only guess was once a man. The limbs were long and inhumanly awkward, with bulky joints branching off into several arms, not unlike the branches of a tree. The creature was draped in a black suit, somehow making the thing more nightmarish to her. The icing on the proverbial cake, however, was what passed as the hellish thing's face. It was as though her mind blurred the ghastly visage to spare itself further shock and horror. She shoved herself away from the door, with the hand still pressed against it. The scalding mug of coffee fell, the liquid burning her bare legs as she fell backwards and tried to crawl away from the door. She knew, somehow, that her mind hadn't been playing tricks on her. As she crab walked away from the door, she watched as tendrils, as black as the void she first saw, snake around through the cracks. The girl was trapped between the instinct to flee and the gut feeling to not turn her back to the door. When the door jolted, the urge to flee overcame her, and she slipped in the burning liquid as she tried to make it back to her room. She knew deep down that she was trapping herself in a corner, but she had to get away from the door. The girl was halfway down the hallway when she heard the previously locked door creak open. She screamed and slipped into a wall, cracking her chin on it and stunning her. After that, there was only blackness. Now, I'm sorry, again, I don't know why this popped into my head. For some reason, I'm imagining one of my old friends, God, what's her name? Kinsey, or Kinsella is her full name. There was one time we were at the mall. Sorry, side rant, if you, just skip ahead if you don't want to hear this. She was running down a slope at a mall, and she ended up, the speed went, she went head over heels and slammed her chin into the ground, and it just about split open. It was very bloody. Anyway, that's all I wanted to say. Nicole, a warm male voice snapped the woman out of her trance. As she turned around, she was met by one of her sister's doctors. She nodded, not sure if she should say anything, or even if she should find her voice, if she did have something to say. That morning, she'd gotten an urgent phone call from the hospital saying that her sister, Lindsay, was there. Before they had even let her see her, the doctors had pulled her off to the side and insisted that they talk to her about what might have happened. Phrases like self-inflicted and assault had been thrown around, and Nicole felt her mind reel. She still hadn't fully understood what they had been saying until she saw Lindsay with her own eyes. Her little sister had a bandage wrapped around her head, covering both of her ears as well as her eyes. They said it was to keep her now deadened eyes from drying out and to try and keep infections out of the wounds Lindsay had made into her ears. The doctors had guessed that either she or someone else had jammed a pencil into them to keep her off balance or to deafen herself against something. There was a mix of first and second degree burns on her hands, legs, and feet from what was assumed to be the coffee her neighbors found slipped all over the entry of her apartment. As Nicole walked to her sister's hospital room for the first time, she thought she had spied a silhouette of a man in the window. That, she knew, was impossible. Her sister's room was on the third story of the hospital. Okay. Before I end it, I just want to say, Slenderman was made, I don't know what website it was on, but it was created because someone, so, for instance, this picture, as you can see if you're looking at the screen, where I'm pointing with my cursor, this is Slenderman. If I go down, let's see if we can find, he's right here. So, they had a what do you call it, a photoshopping contest, that's what it is. They had a photoshopping contest. It was on some scary website, and they basically said, we want you to create scary pictures. And whoever the creator of Slenderman was, it didn't start out to be Slenderman, like the Slenderman game where you hear static and you're trying to find the pages. It actually started out as this. It started out as people photoshopping pictures, and from there it grew. So this Slenderman was one of the most popular stories, or photoshops I should say, on that website, and from that a ton of people created stories just like the one we just read about it. Just like if you look down here, it says other Slenderman stories, which if you want I could do another video and cover that again, because that wasn't a very good video or a good story. It was just kind of bland. but it's very interesting. Um, so yeah, I mean, that's Slenderman. um, I don't have a lot to say. I don't really have anything to say. I'd like a nap. That's something I'd like to say. Um, all I'll say is Slenderman. Just some side information because I want to make this a little bit longer. It's really short. Um, Slenderman, he he's known in the stories that have been created to target children. Um, and he can manipulate children. And I don't know exactly why the ears were covered or the ears were gouged out with a pencil. I think it said in the story, and her eyes were dead. But what I do know is if you stare at Slenderman for too long, you die. Or just like what happened in the story, your eyes, die, I guess. But what I'm thinking is her eyes died because of Slenderman, which makes sense because his main deadly, I guess, item is if you stare at him um, too long, then your eyes die, I guess. But static is another thing that he does. If you stare at him, the more you stare at him, the louder that static gets in your ears. And once he's caught you, constant static is in your ears for like 24/7. It never stops. So what I would assume is the sister who had seen Slenderman, probably injured herself as a way to stop the ringing in her ears or the static in her ears. That would be my best guess. I don't really know. Um, but another thing that's to keep in mind is that, well, it isn't really to keep in mind, but just another thing about the Slenderman stories is it didn't really this really didn't scratch the surface of Slenderman, which is probably why I'm going to do another video once my voice is a little louder and less crackly. But usually people who experience Slenderman or kind of come into contact with Slenderman, they become paranoid and they begin drawing pictures. They lock themselves in their rooms. They close their windows, turn their lights off, hide in bed all day. So it basically, in my opinion, I think Slenderman is supposed to be like depression. Like it's supposed to be, from what people have created, depression within young adults or young children. Just like this picture, you could see this picture I'm pointing at now. It's a child with Slenderman. Up here on a playground, there's Slenderman with a lot of children. Up here, there's young adults with Slenderman in the back. You always see children. You never see adults with Slenderman. So, if it were my guess, I would say Slenderman is a form of idea based around how children feel when they're depressed. They they don't want to go outside. They're scared. Like they're paranoid, and they start. I mean, for me, if I've ever been really sad, or even if you want to call it depressed, I like to draw, or I like to play music. So I think it's just kind of that. I think it's just an embodiment of a Slenderman's supposed to be this being that is the form of depression. It follows you around. It's long. It stalks you. It wraps its arms around you. It suffocates you. That's kind of what I've gotten from it. But you know, that's only me. It's only my theory. I'm not correct. But I'm gonna go to bed. I'm gonna be honest, I'm gonna go to bed. But I hope you enjoyed this video. I'll be coming out with a better one tomorrow. I probably will feel better tomorrow. Knock on wood. But I hope you enjoyed the story, and I will see you guys in the next one.